things that he did when he was living in the Homolka household. He stayed with that family for like 2 years, or for at least 1 year. And he was also flirting with Tammy Homolka, Carlos' youngest sister, and with their girlfriends, and making really inappropriate comments. So yeah, there are so much indications that the family Homolka knew something, but they didn't come out and say it. So yeah.
And it's never portrayed that way in any of the films about this case. They always come off, the father-in-law, Carla's father was like a weak guy who was afraid of, Paul. But when you hear your version, it's a whole different story. What about Satanism? Because there was a story, too, about how Carla used to put an ad in the newspaper looking for old Ouija boards. She wanted other people's Ouija boards.
Yeah, according to a chronicle, Nick Braun from the book Lethal Marriage, he came to the conclusion, his investigation was that all of Carla's schoolmates told him that she had a fascination with death when she was fairly young. So she was also always fascinated with death, as was Ted Bundy. But at the age of 17, she was reading much true crime books. You have a book called Michelle Remembers. It was the first books about recovered memory and ritual sexual abuse. She was also in a scarification, when you are making incisions in your hand and fill it with nail polish. So really weird behavior. And they had books when they were arrested, a book entitled Ritual Abuse, and some of their victims also had their tendons cut. Like they couldn't escape, and that's just a clear sign of satanic ritual abuse. And also the head was shaved, and one of the first murder victims was also encased in cement. And to me, that sounds really like a method like organized crime and satanic ritual abuse.
And there was a segment of your videos that was never quite clear to me. I never quite understood. There was something about a car crash, where some teens died in a car crash that's connected to all this.
Yeah, it's really weird. On the night that Leslie Mahaffley disappeared, she was abducted. She attended the wake for 5 friends who died in a car accident on Numberside Road 1. And after she was abducted and found dead, encased in black cement, she was buried on a cemetery, which was only 1 mile approximately away from one Side Road 1. And the second victim was Kristen French. She was abducted in St. Catharines and killed and later transported to Burlington, exactly to the same ditch where those kids were had that accident. And she was being dumped in the ditch there on the Side Road 1. So you have 3 instances where that place is just coming back. And also the father of one of those kids that have gone killed in the car accident also committed suicide. You have another guy who also was driving there with his car and also accident to a tree there. So you have at least, I think, 8 people there dead. 8 people on the same spot.
Oh, that's fascinating. Because I could see Bernardo and Homolka being attracted to that area, and then because there is something about multiple deaths, especially of youngsters, of children, people young in life, that there's some kind of energy off of that. There's some kind of evil energy that comes off of that. Now what about the death of Carla's little sister? Were they ever charged with that death?
No. It was all apparently an accident. She had too much to drink, and they couldn't account for the huge red mark on her face. So there were many rumors. There were rumors that they were probably freebasing cocaine in the basement. And also, of course, it was the gelatine on a cloth that was put on her face that probably made that mark.
Because Carla worked at an animal hospital, like a veterinary hospital, which also burned to the ground.
Yes, correct.
Right. Now, that's interesting, too. You see a lot of people that are victims of abuse, child sexual abuse, will become vegan later on in life, or they'll go work as veterinary assistants or vet techs to protect animals, and they want to protect helpless animals. They become animal rescue types. You see that kind of thing a lot. Have you noticed that pattern?
Yeah, I've remembered that from the Process Church of the Final Judgment. I think they were an animal society.
That's right. That's right. A fascinating story that these people, the Process Church, who were involved in the Son of Sam cult, sacrificing German Shepherds by every account, later on went to Utah to open up the Friends of Animal Society, which is a big celebrity thing, got a $40 million budget. And I think they're and they are a kill shelter, I believe, you know. So, you know, amazing how you can put that kind of a hobby to use, you know, and make money out of it. Hey. What about? Go ahead.
Let's see. Yeah, there were some indications of truly occult. Yeah, let's see. There were also lividity markings on the Christian French's body. So yeah, there were many instances that there was really occult involvement. Yeah.
Now, what about? Is that the case? Because I know Bundy. There was a case with Bundy where one of the victims was kept alive for a week, and that he was camping or hunting with his father-in-law. Is that Homolka or Bundy?
That's Bundy, but also Molka, because absolutely right. Their last victim, Christian French, she was apparently, according to one pathologist, held like 15 days in that house. And that house was really not rural, out of nowhere. There were houses beside them. So I really can't believe if she really was being held for 15 days in that house, how the hell couldn't she escape or scream for help?
Yeah, I know. That's always suspicious, too. Now, you mentioned Bernardo, that wasn't his real father. Now, how often do we find that in this case, that these guys are adopted, or that they don't know, they don't have their real father, they don't know who their real father was? How often do we find that?
Yeah, very often. I think, of course, with Ted Bundy, with Kenneth Bianchi from the Hillside Strangler.
Manson.
Yeah, Manson, of course. Yeah, sure. I think also David Berkowitz was also from unknown parentage. He was adopted, right?
Yeah, that's the one that I was going to bring up, because remember, Berkowitz said in his confession, I feel that I was chosen at birth to be the assassin for this cult.
Yes, the executioner, yeah.
He was born to be a killer.
Yeah, what I found truly fascinating is that a lot of those serial killers, I really think, have dissociative identity disorder. They really have multiple personality disorder. So they really became, in their killing phase, truly psychotic. If you look at the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, it's truly demonstrative, really.
But with the thing with, though, is how many of them pass through the military service, you know? And I could see the U.S. military, you know, having a little, you know, a test, a little checklist. Okay, are you adopted? Do you know who your real father is? Okay, no. Okay, check that off. You know, then there's the next pattern is they put you to work like as an orderly in a medical facility like that. Well, get them used to blood, get them used to being gored. You know what I mean? And kind of just inch them along, and then put them through the Phoenix program, put them through something similar.
Yeah, I really think those serial killers that we are talking about this evening those are really profile candidates. I really think, especially David Berkowitz, he was also a profile candidate. It was really stated bluntly that.
Yeah.
That they were actually profiled to become part of the military and also with Black Ops and other things.
Oh, you know what? I had one more note here about Homolka. The death of her sister. Homolka later on dressed up in her sister's clothes in order to have sex with Bernardo.
Yeah, yeah. That woman really was really the killer. I really always thought that she was killing instead of Bernardo. I think Bernardo was a serial rapist. He was getting his fun out of raping girls, but he wasn't a killer. He wasn't fascinated by death, and Carla was.
And Carla had jealousy, too, so we can see the motivation, you know, because what would motivate someone, okay, an accidental death of your sister, okay, whatever, you know, what would motivate you to put on her clothing in order to pretend you're her to have sex with your husband? It's some kind of bizarre fantasy. It's just too extreme.
Yeah, their fantasy was also always three-way sex, but I really think that Homolka was at least bisexual because she was also having sex with many women. Maybe she was also a lesbian because in prison she also had sexual relationships with women. So I think she was really screwed up sexually.
And now she's out. She's free.
Yes, she was released in 2005, and she married her brother's lawyer.
Why did her brother need a lawyer?
No, she married her brother's lawyer, but I don't know why.
Why did her brother need a lawyer, though? Do we know that?
No, I don't know if you understand my statement. She married her brother's lawyer.
She married her brother's lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but why did her brother need to hire a lawyer?
No, I don't understand. No.
Okay, yeah, but it must be because I'm thinking you're saying that she married the lawyer who was working for her brother.
Oh no, she had a lawyer, and the brother of her lawyer she married.
She married her lawyer's brother.
Yes.
See, it's amazing how languages little change there. Okay, now we were talking about. I guess the pattern again of films. We're talking about the toy box killing. Describe Truth and Consequences, New Mexico. What went on down there in Truth and Consequences, New Mexico, with the quote unquote toy box?
Well, you have the person named David Parker Ray. He had a military background. Surprise, surprise. And he worked for I think $9 an hour as a mechanic. And basically, he acquired a toy box. A dungeon worth with stuff, property, and materials like $100,000, everything combined. So it's really a big mystery how he get everything, how he get that. And he was associated with accomplices and also the Church of Satan. He described himself as a master dungeon. It really has. Much indications that he was involved in satanic ritual abuse, abducting women, videotaping their exploits and selling them. And also, when he was arrested, he apparently had a fatal heart attack when the trial was being held. But I think if we want to talk about conspiracies about serial killers that aren't dead, I think David Parker Ray is the number one guy who I really think isn't dead. I really think they faked his death and now he's in another country doing the exact same thing.
Okay, let's get into that in a second. Because there's a lot. First of all, he called his dungeon there the Satan's Den. There was a sign. Like you said, he had a dish that was transmitting from that building. The video camera equipment that he had, because this was in the early 80s, you can look up online. They show a picture of his tripod, and this is a very professional, expensive video camera. This wasn't something you buy at Walmart, okay, off the counter, you know. This is a professional equipment. And also, too, his own daughter turned him in like 13 years earlier. And then other people in that neighborhood, and in that, everybody's up in everybody's business in those little tiny towns like that. I've had a trailer in Arizona like that, a little tiny town like that. Everyone knows each other. They just show up without knocking. You know, this is all goes on. And then the FBI came involved, and they had like 100 agents working on this case, investigating this case, looking for other leads and other connections.
Yes, that really proves like there's something else going on over there, yeah. And I also remember I listened to a podcast of an author who have written a book about the case. And he said when he was going to have done his research in the community of Truth or Consequences, he said every a person living there was a drug addict. It was really a drug addict town.
What drug, meth?
Yeah, meth. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now tell us why you think he's still alive and living in another country doing this.
Well, yeah, that's all just conjecture and speculation. But I really think that he did a lot of work for, let's say, the elite for procuring their little videotapes and doing their things. So I really think he's not dead. I think they just faked his own death. I mean, come on, how coincident is it? Yeah, he going to trial and suddenly has a heart attack and everybody's forgetting him.
Well, yeah, that's another thing too. This is so common that these people at the center of this, it's either